There are quite a few words that I never understood. One such word is quantum and then quantum physics. Could you please explain what do we mean by quantum or quantum physics?
Yeah. So, as we have, if you look at the history of physics or science, you have the first of all the Newtonian physics, that is basically the classical mechanics, where we have the gravitation laws, etc. And everything, the entire universe was working like a clockwork. That was the kind of understanding about universe, and that is the science of we call it Newtonian, or the science started by Isaac Newton. And then we slowly moved to this Albert Einstein, where we made a one more leap, that is the entire concept called space, that is 3D space, and time, what we perceive as time, they are fused together like an alloy, fused together into a concept called space time. That means you can travel both in forward, backward direction in time and in space, everything is possible. But still the universe is considered as a continuity. Like if you say the entire space time, which the Einstein has envisaged in the theories like special theories and general theory of relativity, it consider the entire universe is like it's a permitted, or it's actually a fabric of space time. It's like a space and time combined kind of entity, which is very fluid, and like it can have curvatures whenever there is a gravity, etc. But it's a continuum. And quantum theory came as the next third level of change in the perception of universe, where it introduced like concept of, because at the microscopic level there is no continuity. So you may be feeling that everything is smooth and fluid, like space is very smooth and time is very smooth, but at a microscopic level, that is when you go deeper into the atoms, inside the atom electrons and neutrons and protons, so go into the nucleus and again go deeper. So the protons or neutrons are made of quarks, and you further you go deep, you will have a standstill. Everything is a quantity or quanta, that is like discrete components. And that quanta, that means instead of space time being a continuity, it is made of chunks of blocks and blocks of entities. So that is called the quanta, and that is where the word quanta and the study of the quantum phenomena is called the quantum physics. Everything started. Now, if I can give an analogy, like digital photography is a very good analogy for the quantum physics. So once you take a digital photograph of a person, like maybe your favorite actor, maybe Amitabh Bachchan. So you zoom deeper and deeper and deeper. You see, after some time, it's only pixels. So only in the end you can only see some colored dots, and between dot there will be nothing. So this is the same thing about the universe. It's in other words, you can say the entire universe is made of voxels, something like pixels. It is made of some quantified or very smaller unit of space time, which you cannot reduce into smaller, further smaller parts. So once you divide things, there you reach a point where you can't divide anything. That is the last contest. It's called Planck, Planck level. It's a very small number, so very small space, which is like a single unit called quanta, and that is what quantum theory is about. And now, like a tree, the quantum studies have diversified into a lot of things, even studying consciousness. It is called quantum consciousness, etc.
Sure. So could you please explain more about consciousness and then quantum consciousness and the
Yeah.
stages of consciousness
Yeah.
for a
Yes. Yes.
human life?
Yeah. Right. So the quantum theory originated in 1900. So it's almost 100 years, and in the last 100 years, from 1900 to 2000, it was mostly focusing about the physical phenomena, like as I mentioned, the quantas, like and whatever happening inside the atom. And it has got a lot of valuable technological or insights, like how the different atoms behave differently. All these are fruits of quantum theory.
Sure.
Most of the chemical reactions which cannot be solved in a normal classical chemistry is solved by quantum theory. So very complex molecules we are able to get a lot of even polymer industry benefited a lot with quantum theory. It's all material science. But 2000 we got a breakthrough, starting with Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, who have started studying that like they applied the principles of quantum theory in the biological systems. And finally, there was a kind of breakthrough moment wherein one anesthetist named Stuart Hameroff, he found that there is like a quantum phenomena happening inside the neurons. And the human brain neurons, you have the endpoints of two neurons called synapses, that is one neuron communicating with another neuron. So, in that there are some quantum phenomena happening, and whatever he understood by in collaboration with Roger Penrose, a physicist who is very well established mainstream researcher in quantum theory, based on their collaborative study, it found that the consciousness that we feel inside the brain is a result of the quantum activity emerging from the microtubules inside the synapses of the neurons of the human brain.
Sure.
So, we have reached a stage where quantum theory, after explaining a lot of things in physics, cosmology, and after solving a lot of problems in chemistry, it is entering into the biology, especially into the human brain. And there this new theory is starting, I mean it's almost 20 years, it's a very new field of science called quantum consciousness emerged. And some of the understand like some of the revelations of the quantum consciousness studies is very much fascinating, especially from a point of view of Indian point of view, because some of the insights are very much rhyming with Vedanta. There is a concept of called ambient consciousness as far as this quantum consciousness studies. Primarily it is creating a counter theory for the emergent consciousness theory of neuroscience, because neuroscience is where we have got a theory of consciousness. Based on that, the human brain is a complex system. So, any kind of complex system after crossing a sufficient level of complexity will exhibit the phenomenon called consciousness. And that is why human brains are exhibiting this phenomena called consciousness. This is the theory of neuroscience, which is the consciousness as an emergent property. That is the entire theory is described in that manner. So, any system which is sufficiently complex will exhibit the property of consciousness. That is the emergent property or emergent consciousness theory. Whereas quantum consciousness is giving a counter to that, which says that consciousness is an ambient property of the universe. Like the universe has got an ambient temperature. We say that there is an ambient background radiation. Universe, even though there is nothing in space, there is some amount of background radiation in the universe.
Sure.
Similarly, there is a base temperature of 0 Kelvin. It's slightly above 0 Kelvin, like 0.001 Kelvin. That temperature never goes off, it's always there. Sure. So, similarly, consciousness is a ambient property of the universe. This is the new theory quantum consciousness comes. So, you don't have to have, even if there is no complex system, consciousness will exist. Now, the complex system only does one extra thing. It will only increase the expressiveness of the consciousness, but for creating consciousness you do not need any complex system. So, that is the new theory coming from the quantum consciousness studies. And if you compare it with, in Vedanta we have an equivalent concept of Brahman, Parabrahman, etc., where it says it is a universal consciousness. So, if you compare whatever is the quantum consciousness theory as well as its findings like ambient consciousness, it is very much close to, I mean it is something like whatever is expressed by our ancient rishis in terms of Upanishadic insights of that same thing expressed differently in a field of science. So, that is why it is very much interesting, and this particular understanding is right from the very beginning, like even the initial founding fathers of quantum theory like Erwin Schrödinger and Paul Dirac and Max Planck, even Albert Einstein, who was just little bit one generation earlier. All these people have earlier provided some understanding or given some sound bites saying that if anything the quantum studies it does not make any sense unless you start reading Vedanta or Upanishad, then only it makes some sense. So, that is already their recorded statement from many of the founding fathers of quantum theory, but after 100 years it is more and more proving to be true by this new kind of insights coming from Penrose, Hameroff, etc. That is the thing.
And then what would be the stages of consciousness for a specific human, say
Yeah,
A,
yes.
B, C or X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
Say everybody would have different consciousness at a given stage, right? And how would someone evolve through that process?
Yeah, yes. So when you have this ambient consciousness theory, which means that we have to, this is a given fact, we have to consider it as a given fact that the universe is ambiently conscious. That means the entire universe without any complex system, right from the Big Bang onwards, is conscious. And even Stuart Hameroff says that Big Bang moment is a conscious moment. Like it is equivalent to the neuron firing in the synapses of the human brain. So from that point onwards, when you apply consciousness to the cosmology, so whatever happened in the solar system, like Earth coming to the habitable zone, Earth emerging as a planet in the habitable, exactly in the habitable zone of the star called Sun, everything reveals to be a conscious decision. So these are all the result of the consciousness of the universe or the solar system, you can say, and slowly whatever happened inside the planet Earth, the evolution, again that also when you look at from this hindsight, it is a conscious steps, like the slowly the progression of the human this biological life on planet Earth, starting with RNA complexes to DNA complexes, viruses, bacteria, and then slowly plants, animals, human beings. This stage by stage increasing the expressivity of the consciousness, and human beings is the ultimate, or at least the current stage, this is the ultimate stage of universal consciousness, getting a body enough to express itself in more consciously. And the remaining thing, so there is evolution continuing on the human body as well as the human mind. So the human body evolution, it is a material thing wherein it may take a different pathways than the biological evolution. For example, by implanting artificial intelligence into human brain and expanding our capability, making us superhuman, like ultraviolet vision, like a Superman have ultraviolet vision. So all these things are possible in the subsequent centuries, because you will have augmented eyes which can see through ultraviolet and infrared, or so material body will progress in terms of a different kind of evolution.
Understood.
At the same time, the human mind have a kind of evolution, which is like the increased awareness. So if you look at the awareness of a common man, that is a very simplistic awareness where he is considered as an individual, and then all the daily problems in the life, and he just lost in the life. Whereas if you look at the rishis or the gurus, they have an elevated consciousness. And just one example of how what is elevated consciousness: whenever there is some thought happens, you are not aware of it, you just get flooded by that thought and its emotion, and you react, either you react angry or you react happy, etc. Whereas any kind of person who is meditating, like our gurus or rishis, they are even able to recognize the thought itself. So they will say, okay, this is a thought of anger coming inside my mind. So that is a higher level of consciousness, because you are conscious about the thought and its emotion itself. So then you are able to express, you may be able to mold the emotion in differently, or you don't even have to react for an angry situation. So this is a kind of a elevation, and this consciousness elevation happens inside the human mind. So you don't see anything outside body, it's like in the same body, but in consciousness is evolving inside the human mind, and it can reach a stage wherein it completely break all the barriers of isolation and merges with the universal consciousness. That is the moksha, or the Brahmi sthiti. In the Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned Brahmi sthiti. So that state you will reach.
Sure.
So there is a consciousness expressing right from the universe Big Bang to the formation of stars, solar systems, planets, within the planet evolution, and finally the human body, which is able to express that consciousness at the highest level, thinking about universe itself. Actually, who is thinking? Universe itself is thinking about itself.
Sure.
So human consciousness is nothing but a universe on consciousness, and it made all these steps. Even though it takes millions of billions of years, it is actually a sequential step for it, and it doesn't care about period time.
Yeah.
So 1 second and 1 billion years, everything is same for it. because it is a space time where everything has happened, like in past and future, everything has happened and existing in the same instant. So billion years or 1 second doesn't matter. So this is conscious and thinking about itself. And once you are a human body level, you have you can observe two types of evolution: inner evolution, that mind evolution, as well as human body evolution, like that.
So is that more to do with higher levels of tolerance and then intuitive power as you become more conscious? Are we saying that you become more intuitive and then your tolerance would be more? Is that how it is, or it is even a different state?
Yes, so there is like people who are super conscious, so they can use it for different purposes. So the main objective of most of the like conscious, super conscious people or the rishis is to increase the consciousness and experience the Brahmi state. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentioned Nesha Brahmi Sthita Prartha. Like that, there is a beautiful sloga in the second adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita. Brahmi state he is explained. That is similar like the moksha, etc. But the moksha concept is like your end of life, you reach that stage. But Krishna is saying Brahmi state is like in the current moment itself, you can be in that state.
Sure.
And after experiencing that state, you will climb down into a normal state also. So that is also like because nobody can fight a battle in Brahmi state. In the Brahmi state, there is he is one with the consciousness. There is no actions or anything. But then people climb down to the current reality or the current state wherein they can do perform action. So people who are into the higher consciousness, they can actually use it for elevating further into the Brahmi state, or you can use that higher perception, etc., for anything like related to the material purposes. So then they become a great, some of them become great musicians, where with a very kind high quality kind of capabilities, or they become like healers, like can heal the diseases. So they use it for material purposes or for helping the fellow human beings, etc.
Perfect, understood. So we spoke about human evolution and then human consciousness, but the very existence of life or creation of life on this universe or perhaps on this planet, right? Was that a pure accident or it was also consciously done by someone?
Yes. So the current evolution theory, which have started with no connection with the consciousness theory, it has got everything. It explains a lot of things in a very nice manner, very logical way. Like right from the creation of the microbes, the RNA DNA complex I mentioned, and other viral bacterial kind of life, slowly protozoas, and so this is explaining in a very logical manner.
Sure.
The evolution of life in stage by stage, and you got a lot of evidences for the different stages of evolution also existing. One big flaw of evolution is which is a big gap is it it's cannot explain how this can happen randomly. So the randomness is a big flaw inside the current evolution theory. But when you combine the consciousness theory, quantum consciousness theory, with the human evolution theory, biological human evolution discovered by Darwin, you create a stronger theory, that is evolution, conscious evolution theory. So in the conscious evolution theory, what it happens is that because we are saying the universe is ambiently conscious, that means all the stages which led to the evolution of life in Earth is actually a conscious decisions.
Yeah.
Like right from the formation of the solar system in the periphery of the Milky Way galaxy, there is a conscious decision, because if it is closer to the center of the galaxy, there will be a lot of X-ray cosmic radiations compared to where it is in the peripheral. Solar system is formed in the periphery of the galaxy.
Galaxy, yeah.
And within the solar system, Earth is formed exactly in the habitable zone of the this sun. So this is again a conscious decision. Like it is selection. There is some selection happening there.
Sorry, but by whom?
Consciousness. That is like, because what is the one of the primary activity of consciousness is just study itself.
Sure.
Because consciousness in a recursive manner analyze itself or reflect on itself. That is the correct word, reflect on itself. So the entire evolution is a result of that, the consciousness trying to observe itself or reflect on itself. That is the objective. For that, some intelligent or some human, some body has to be created where the consciousness can express in properly so that it can observe itself. So that is why this entire conscious selections are happening. And once you have a planet in the habitable zone with sufficient mix of nitrogen, oxygen, everything, and then the primordial ocean with a lot of like this nutrients basically. That becomes a sufficient condition where the life can start, and it starts. And every stage there is a conscious decisions finally reaching to the stage of a human being. And once you are a human being, then you develop science, you develop literature, you have the biggest discovery of the human being is fire is one thing, but the remaining the other second biggest discovery is ability to accumulate knowledge. So from very past centuries onwards, whatever knowledge we are able to accumulate, which animals never able to do. So that is our biggest asset. So finally the universe wanted to create a being, that is a human being, which can is a kind of you can, the machine is a wrong word, but it's a kind of a method by which there is a possibility of observing in the universe, and we become observers of universe. So the entire pathway leading to the human evolution is a guided process, the conscious selection of the consciousness.
Okay, brilliant point, I would say. Okay, so we spoke about human evolution, and then of course the way humans progressed, and then how perhaps they were created through consciousness, right? And then you mentioned about time, right? People say that time is an illusion. There's no difference between a second and a billion years of time. Okay, is time really an illusion?
Yes. So in fact, poetically, people say about time being an illusion. I mean, if from the point of a science also, it is more or less true, because our perception of time, like like things we perceive it because of changes, like like when I'm starting from the home, there is a certain like time, like it was in the morning, and then after reaching another destination, it becomes like there is some, so there is a sense of change. That is a fundamental like perception that create the concept of time. But when you look at how the way the theoretical science, that is the Einstein's equations, you see that no, Einstein's direct from the mathematical equation. So it's not something like poetry or magic. Direct from the mathematical equation, he says that time is perceived by different people differently.
Absolutely.
If anybody moves in a different speed of, like comparative to the speed of light, if a person is moving in, then their perception of time is different from anybody who is stationary. So then science is in a way say that time is illusion. Of course, our perception of time is illusion. Which is also the in a proper formal methodology, the Einsteinian equations also proving that. So there is a relative, the time is a relative concept. So like for a person who is in a different velocity can have a different sensation of time. People in a different, in a gravity well can have a different sensation. Like time moves slower in a gravity well, but compared to places where there is less gravity, I mean time move faster in a gravity well, and less gravity, like it is slower, like that. That kind of things are there. And similarly, faster moving people, the time slows down. People who are accelerating, the time slows down. So there is a complete breakup of our perception, normal perception of time is completely broken down.
And then as we go up into the space, right? Time, it does slow down a bit.
Yes. And if it is also observed, like when the atomic clocks, where high precision clocks which can record microseconds or nanoseconds, you can see a difference in the clocks which is placed in outer space and on the planet Earth, surface of the Earth. So the Einsteinian theory is also proven, and some of the, even the orbit of Mercury, some orbital because relativity equations are helping us to resolve some anomaly, because in a Newtonian gravitational laws it will be an anomaly. We cannot, there is no explanation, but we include that this time, space time contraction component, the orbit of Mercury becomes correct. So there are some studies, and even the curvature of space, which is also completely observed when the light pass through some very heavy gravity stars, it will bend the light. And even when Einstein lived, he was speculating about black holes. Now plenty of black holes we have discovered, and there the kind of time around the black hole also we have directly observed. So whatever theoretical science has become practically observable now, where the time very clearly is a very kind of illusory thing.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, not like a poet says, because there is equations to say in what level it is in illusion. Because so it is not unpredictable, we can predict it. A poet simply says time is illusion, and there is no way the poet can make sense of it. But because of the theories, equations, even though actual time is really an illusion, we can make sense of it.
Sure.
Can know like what is the time flow for a particular individual using the
Equation, yeah, yeah. But what do you infer from, say, the future, the past, and also the present? They all exist at the same time, like they have shown
yes.
in the movie Arrival.
Correct.
So, what do you infer from that?
Right. So see, this is not something like which is just now discovered. It's like from the theory of relativity onwards, like Einstein's theory of relativity onwards. So even special relativity, not even general relativity. The moment we conceive space time, from that moment onwards, time has to be considered like space.
Sure.
So you have forward direction, backward direction, upward, downward, left and right. So past and future are two directions. When you say there are two directions, that means anything in the past is, anything in the future exists in a space time, as if it is there forever, eternally. And so that means again this completely blows away our concept of time, because we have to conceive that past and present is existing at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
So in an instant, or that is the only word we can use, because instant itself is a word based on our own like cultural evolution. We have to say in an instant. In that instant, past and future are both there. But of course, the quantum theory came disrupted this little bit. It says that past is frozen, whereas future is there, but there are multiple futures.
Sure.
So that some modification created by quantum theory. So the future is fuzzy. It is still there. Future is exactly like whatever our past exists, our future also exists, but future exists in superpositions.
Understood. That's where perhaps this entropy concept comes in. And
Yeah, because so whenever any moment you make a decision, you collapse one of the possibilities into a reality.
Reality.
So as far as quantum theory is concerned, it slightly modified the future part of the space time using a probabilistic equation.
Sure.
So in that probabilistic equation, multiple futures are in a superposition,
Sure.
and your conscious decision will make one of them from a probability to reality.
Reality.
So that your own thoughts, your own mind is actually creating that future for you. Then you come back to the old notion that you create your future.
Sure. No, when I hear this, it looks like a brilliant concept to me. So what about time travel? Now that we are discussing more about time and also the fourth, fifth dimensions. Time travel, is time travel possible into the past and also into the future?
Correct.
And what about fourth or fifth dimension that people speak about?
Yes. So it's a good question, because many people think that you can explain the reality with 4 dimensions, but actually it is not true, because if you want to also understand the gravity well, you have to have the 5th dimension, because the curvature of the earth, the space in the earth around earth's like premises or black holes, the curvature and depth, if everything is in the 5th dimension. So if you have 5 dimension, the 3 dimensions of space, the 4th dimension being time, and there is a 5th dimension, then you can actually explain the time travel, etc. Where what happens is that because Einsteinian equation doesn't prohibit any kind of time travel. You can travel from current moment to future to past. Past and future are symmetric in Einstein space time, and both have same properties. So we move in past, you move in future, no problem actually.
Sure.
But after Einstein equation, the quantum theory came. Then thermodynamics, another like field of science, which says that you may be able to travel to future, because the thermodynamics and entropy decide that information can travel from current moment to the forward direction, but not in the backward direction.
Wow.
Because when you are moving into the, if you take information from current, like present to the past, the cost effect relationship will be affected, because some of the effect, because the consequence of an action itself becomes the cause for an action. So there become a causality loop will be created, and then everything will become illogical. So that is the kind of principle, that is the entropy principles, according to which time travel to future is possible, but time travel to past is not possible. But then science didn't stop at that point. So they introduced the concept of multiverse.
Correct.
So multiverse, if you want to consider, you have to consider one more dimension. So sixth dimension, if you
dimension.
include, you can say there are multiple 5-dimensional universes. One universe, 5 dimension, parallel universe in the stacked up like layers of a book, like pages of a book. One page is one universe with 5 dimensions, like 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time, and 1 dimension for the gravity curvature. So that 5 dimensional universes are like pages of a book stacked up in the sixth dimension. So this kind of a universe, if a person travel from, that this kind of universe allows travel into the past. So for example, if a person is starting from 2023, traveling into 1793 BC, for example, he is actually traveling and landing up in another parallel universe. So that causality, the cost effect relationship, this universe is not affected.
Understood. So there's no intersection then, basically. So I cannot change whatever that has happened, but I can create a whole new universe.
Yes, and when you go to that parallel universe, you started changing that universe from the moment you landed up.
Absolutely. So I can create whatever I want.
Yes. So just one example is to define this grandfather paradox. I mean, maybe so many people have talked about it.
Yeah.
So in a universe where there is no parallel universe, there is only same universe kind of scenario. If a grandson travel and go to the timeline of period of his grandfather,
Kills his
because some reason he kills the grandfather, automatically grandfather is not there. Then his parents are not there, he doesn't exist. So he just, there are absurd situation like he disappears, that kind of thing. But when you have parallel universe, this grandfather paradox is not there, because he may be killing a grandfather copy in another universe, whereas his own existence is not disappearing.
So his grandfather would be a different life in a different universe.
So this multiverse concept has another so many other assumptions, like whatever life that is happening for us in this universe is exactly replicated in other universes, like ditto copies, which will just not be contaminated until the point you travel to your past. The moment you travel and interfere with that particular universe, from that point onwards, history of the universe will change.
Sure.
So that is the theory, but all these things are only in the theoretical level, unfortunately, because at least for other parts of the Einstein's theories about time being an illusory, like as I mentioned, the time moves slower, these are all theoretically and practically proven, whereas multiverse is yet to be proven basically, but this is the only logical way in which you can resolve a travel to past.
Sure. So we spoke about multiverse. Before I jump onto the question, are we alone in this, or rather on this planet, and then are we the only living species, as compared to a lot of other planets? Right? I would love to touch upon. You spoke about time leakage, right?
Yeah.
Could you please explain more on that before I jump on to?
Yes. So the time leakage concept is on the basis of this multiverse and traveling to past. So when you have the possibility of traveling to past, which is theoretically possible in a multiverse kind of a scenario, there is the concept of you coming from your universe and going into the past, and then some elements of your future gets into that the parallel universe, past of that parallel universe.
Sure.
So I mean, there are no evidences straight away coming in, but there are certain unusual discoveries in archaeology, which like for example, very recently, I heard about some electronic component discovered in a layer of earth, which is equivalent to some 2000 years or 1500 years into the past, or 2000 or 3000 years into the past, got an electronic component. So of course people are not jumping into the conclusion, but because there is a very rare kind of scenario where the earthquake happens, so the layering of archaeology get disrupted. So for example, so the archaeology have some definitions, like whatever found in a particular depth is equivalent to this particular century or past millennium. So whichever is in the deeper layer, they will in their calculus they will automatically associate with the very past period. So they are still going on, whether it is because of some earthquake churning happened in the layers, that something electronics of 1960s, or that get buried deeper, and then by accident they are considering it as some 3000 year old artifact. But if that theory is completely excluded, the only possibility is somebody traveled to that point from past. So there are certain unconfirmed evidences for traveling from future to past but it is still unconfirmed. And just like the people are, because most of the people who are doing this kind of research will be professional archaeologists, etc., care a lot about their reputation. So in order to open their mouth, they have think 10 times. So but it's after the complete filtering happen that all other explanations are not, if we reach a conclusion that no other explanation is possible, then it becomes an evidence for time travel from future to past.
Sure. So are we alone in this universe, or
Right.
there could be multiple universes, multiple galaxies?
Yes.
Is someone already living with us who's from a different planet or a different galaxy?
Correct.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, so the people ask it in a different way, like like they say straight away use that dirty word aliens, whether it is there. So the thing is, I have been explaining in many of the podcasts that theoretically, like just like the Einstein equations are giving you the magical result that time is moving differently for different people. It is initially shocking, but after understanding for 100 years of Einstein theory, then it's natural. So similarly, the presence of aliens is naturally theoretically given by all the equations. Like Drake equation is one of the important thing, where it says that any galaxy like Milky Way galaxy can have a minimum of 30 to 35 intelligent species, like Earth-like planet, sustaining intelligent life. So the equations which takes about a lot of parameters, like the number of planets in the galaxy, and various other factors like radiation inside the galaxy, habitable, again just like the every star got a habitable zone, the galaxy itself have a habitable zone.
Sure.
So based on all these parameters, the Drake equation defines that the final result of the Drake equation is that every galaxy have 35, minimum 30 to 35 planets like Earth, which can sustain intelligent life. So the number of galaxies in the universe is billions and billions of galaxies.
Absolutely.
Are there.
Yeah.
So that means you have to multiply billions and billions with 35. So that many number of intelligent life sustaining planets are there. So that means you have a very presence of aliens is not a big deal, because this many number of intelligent life is there, then somebody will be there in Earth also.
Sure.
And of course that doesn't mean that they are very open to getting discovered. So because of different reasons, they may be a little bit slightly not interested in interfering with our civilization. So there are a lot of theories about it. So one is about the presence part. For that I need to talk about the scale of civilization, like L1, L2, L3, like that there is a scale. So L1 is the situation some 2000 years back. We have Egyptian civilization, Indus Valley civilization, all the Greek and Roman and Mesopotamian, Chinese.
Yeah.
So individual local civilizations were there on the planet Earth. So that is the L1 stage, localized stage. Currently we are living in L2 stage, where it is a global civilization, where people can travel anywhere in the planet Earth within 24 hours. Every place is accessible. So that is the L2 stage, the global civilization, and we are slowly doing the baby step towards the L3, where we start permanent settlements, possibility of multiple missions to Moon, Mars. So ISRO is doing that baby steps toward the L3 level, where you will have a permanent presence in solar system. So 300 years from now, we will be living I mean 30% of the human population may be living in solar system and remaining 70% on planet Earth. Like that, there is a prediction. So that is the L3 level. And after L3, the civilization progress, it become interstellar, where we have a capability to living another star like Proxima Centauri or Sirius or Leo constellation. There are habitable planets there. So that possibility is there. After that is the L4 stage, interplanetary, and the L5 is the galactics, where the entire galaxy becomes a like a civilization, galactic civilization. Just like we say global, there is a galactic civilization. So countries will be like some parts of the galaxy. Like this left hand, the left hand side of the galaxy will be one country, and the right hand side another. So many other countries. So that will be like a galactic civilization, and then intergalactic, and then the cosmic and intercosmic. So like that, the scale goes. So assume that there are, see, as I mentioned, 35 intelligent civilizations exist in a planet. Maybe one or two can be even interstellar civilization, like, or because L1, L2, L3 doesn't participate, like local civilization, global civilization in a planet, interplanetary civilization of that star. These three people doesn't participate. But L4 onwards, like interstellar and L5, galactic and intergalactic, L6, L4, L5, L6, these kind of civilizations can be present in another planet. Like for example, their planet, from there they move and spread across the other stars. They also can come in planet Earth and reside here. So this is why I say theoretically there are no blockages for having alien presence in planet Earth. And of course, to answer your question, the intelligent life existing in the galaxies anywhere in the universe, automatically the theory says yes.
Sure. But how do you think the life would be supported to them? Of course, we need oxygen, and then 70% of our body is covered with water, and just like so how do you think Earth can support any other form of intelligent life that is existing on Earth that is coming from a different galaxy or a different universe?
Right. So the one of the big thing is the evolution. So the evolution, what it does is like any kind of life anywhere in the any planet, it will subject to evolution. So some basic things are guaranteed, like there is a electromagnetic radiation. So there will be sensors to detect the electromagnetic radiation, so and get a perception of the things present in surroundings. That is the eyes. So every living like organism anywhere in forming any alien species, they will have eyes. That is natural. And then typically all the living beings anywhere in Earth or anywhere, they are living in a fluid environment. Fluid means air or water. So fishes are living in water, we are living in surrounded by air. So this will create acoustic vibrations that we call sound vibration. So definitely they will develop ears for recognizing the sound vibrations in the fluid medium. Eyes and ears are guaranteed, and they need a kind of thinking module. That is of the human brain. So something like a head is natural.
Sure.
And of course, the other five senses, like any kind of living system, they define their boundary with that is a skin is their boundary. So anything contacting with the boundary, that they need to know. So the skin is natural. Now the two things which can be little bit ambivalent is the nose and tongue, which are like a nose is actually doing like a sensing of the chemical combination of things coming through air, and tongue is doing the same thing coming through the mouth. So there may be like sometimes some living beings can only have this one of them or two of them, maybe three of them. That can be a variability. But the other things like eyes, sight, and hearing and touch sensation are universal. So all the living systems will have, and head, and then they need to consume food. For that, something like mouth will be there. So there are so many common elements, even if the DNA structure itself is different. So many common elements for any living alien, any kind of extraterrestrial civilization and human being they have. And of course, two organs, or multiple limbs for controlling or interacting with the systems, natural systems or with the electronic systems or whatever that hands and fingers are all natural. So this much is natural. For the legs can be an auxiliary, because If you are walking on the surface of earth, you need legs. If you are floating in the water, you don't need leg, but you need a tail like a
Tail,
fish.
yeah.
So these are all variables. So you can say so much of parameters of evolution is guaranteed to be there. So you can actually define like certain structures are normal. And if you look at the thousand-year-old mummy, you have similar kind of all the parameters are there, like it is humanoid like. That is because of that. Yeah, now coming to the question of earth sustaining other like living beings. See, certain some of the like researchers consider that water and this oxygen are also very much natural. Because earlier, like 20 years back, they think that the other living beings may be not consuming water. It can be a methane based metabolism or a non-oxygen within earth itself, which was there earlier.
Oh, okay.
Older
Interesting.
life in earth was not considering oxygen as a toxin, and with if you oxygen is there, the life will die.
Oh,
That was
wow.
there in the planet earth. So
But when was that though? Sorry to interrupt. When was that?
in the during the evolution
during the
process,
evolution
the
process? Okay.
cyanobacteria, etc.,
Okay.
when they are
Okay.
developing oxygen,
Okay.
they were not consuming oxygen. Oxygen was a toxic gas at that time. So slowly after the plant life originated, oxygen becomes a life-giving kind of a
Brilliant. Okay.
thing.
Okay.
So within the earth evolution itself, oxygen is not a kind of a mandatory thing for life, but water is. And so many people include, like I included about the 5 sense organs, 4 or 5 sense organs, and limbs, hands, and brain and mouth as a natural consequence of evolution everywhere. A large number of people consider water as a natural thing. And because earlier we have not explored very less the solar system. Now everywhere you find what moon, you have water presence,
Sure.
very
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
kind of a not a water pool or anything like that, but water is there in the soil. And so many other moons like Europa, then Enceladus, everything have water, ocean itself. Titan have the methane ocean, and but of course some presence of water, etc. So water now, and also a lot of comets have huge amount of water. So water is now considered as a H2O, considered as a kind of a universally available kind of a thing. So mostly other extraterrestrial life also have some kind of basis on water. So these are the reasons why the extraterrestrial people were able to come in Earth and live on Earth actually. And of course they have so much of technology wherein if they are breathing a different gas, it's a simple thing like they put some implant on the nose or wherever they're breathing, there you put some implant, that whatever no, it can extract whatever gases it require from the atmosphere. So that's not a technology is there. Anything, any kind of gaps which nature is not able to provide, technology will
Understood.
eliminate that.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So, just a question here: if an intelligent life from other planet comes here and then starts living here, maybe for a few centuries, okay, right? And then by the time they try to go back to that particular planet, right? Life evolves, and then life has changed dramatically for them as well, just like the way life changed on Earth. Say, for example, oxygen was not a necessity then; it has become a necessity post the plants evolved, etc. So, do you think that's also a possibility on, say, another other asteroids or planets? Say, when they start living here and then they start to lose their right or rather their eligibility to live on other planet. Is that a possibility?
There is a possibility, but typically most of the time the visitation is Earth is nothing more than a tourist visit, where this is a very temporary kind of presence here, and their technology may even allow, because when you have warp drives, etc., going to their planet is as good as like crossing a door, because you create, basically you create, you don't go the speed of light or anything, right? So you don't go in using a spacecraft, you are not traveling in trying to travel speed of light or anything. So typically what they will, they create a wormhole on planet Earth, which opens up into the other side of it, opens up into their planet in their home, for example. So it's as good as just crossing a door,
Understood.
or maybe crossing a corridor of some 100 meters. That much they will be close. So I mean that is the kind of technology will allow them to be here, not like traveling through space. They will be traveling for this through the wormholes, warp drives, etc. So this kind of adaptation problem will not be there, but any kind of species who lives for, because of various reasons, which is what that mummy is also saying, maybe
Yeah.
they may be living here for a long period of time, will get adapted to the climate,
yeah.
and the way of life in planet Earth. But it will be like there is no way of communicating it back to their original planet, because this is something like a tourism visit kind of
Sure,
thing.
sure.
Where
But is sending magnetic waves only way to discover life on other planets or other universes, or is there some other way to discover
yeah.
intelligent form of life on other planets? Or
Yeah. So the current one of the major activity of search for extraterrestrial life, SETI, is to send signals, intelligent signals, even seeking the presence of or inviting the aliens to other intelligent species to Earth. But it's a very good initiative. But the one problem with that initiative is that we are actually doing the electromagnetic radiation methodology, like you are spending the signals through as electromagnetic waves. There is no sufficient, we have started doing it for less than 100 years. So 100 years, there is a very less time to sufficiently like this, to the signals to travel and reach any kind of destination where anybody is ready to receive it. But so maybe the scientific community, typically the city, thinks that because they are sending the electromagnetic radiation signals, inviting the aliens or telling about our presence, some of the aliens get attracted and coming here. Maybe that may be true for within 100 light years. If there is an intelligent civilization, that may be true, because I mean even not even 100, I mean 50 years, 50 light years, then you have only Proxima Centauri and such stars within that 50 light year range. But the majority or major reasons why the aliens will be coming is Earth itself is a signal,
yeah, yeah,
because Earth is a for millions of years, Earth is sustaining life, and Earth is like a habitable planet, and the Earth being a habitable planet itself is a signal which is active for millions of years, and that could be the reason why that will be the major reason why anybody extraterrestrial intelligence like L4 this L4, L5, L6 will come to Earth, because millions of years means Earth being in existence, that electromagnetic radiation from Earth is traveling across the galaxy, and the radius of that electromagnetic messaging is millions of kilometer radius. So Earth is inviting
understood.
the extra. I mean,
Extra,
theoretically speaking, Earth is the main invader of extraterrestrial life into Earth, whereas the SETI thinks that it is 50 years whatever they are doing. So it's a funny thing, but that is the reality.
sure. But we would love to touch upon the scholarly of you here, where you have been researching a lot on Ramayana and then Mahabharata, right? If someone from a different planet or a different universe is capable of coming onto the Earth, onto planet Earth, right? So are all our gods aliens, or are they all, or were they all coming from a different planets or planet? Did that happen, or did they just, or rather, were they all just born as human and then they became gods eventually?
Yeah. So this is a very common question that many people ask, like when they combine the alien theory with our ancient text, etc. So because one of the thing is, I am a realist. So when I look at the data, I will look at whether I am making any sweeping claims. So as I look at the literature, for example, I am looking at the literature starting from the Rig Veda. I don't see anything which indicate that the devatas are like aliens or anything like that, or only the kind of some kind of a kind of extraterrestrial signatures start coming from Mahabharata onwards. Where Ramayana you have the Vimana is slightly there, but the data when I look at it is not very much very strong enough to say that it is not different from a poetic imagination.
Sure,
So
sure.
there are two contenders, two competitive combating kind of perspective to analyze the ancient text. So one is that some strange phenomena inside the ancient text, like Itihasas, because Rigveda is very straightforward. It's not much into some magical things, very less kind of thing. There is only some very rare poetry where, say, the Indra is coming from Divi for rituals, and then after taking Havis, Soma goes back. The chariot is coming in from an elevated place to come back to the rishis, and after the Soma drinking, he went back to his abode where he live with Indrani. So there is very 5% of magical elements in Rig Veda, whereas there is so much of magical kind of narratives in Mahabharata, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So there are two competitive things. One is poetic imagination. Just like we can imagine the rishis, the Valmiki and Vyasa, they are all imaginative people, they can also imagine. Just like we write science fiction, they can also write science fiction.
Sure.
So I have to look at the possibility that some of the things mentioned is not poetic imagination. Anything which can be explained as poetic imagination, because that is the more plausible theory, because there is a gradation of theories also, right? The postulations have gradation. Whenever you can explain something, you have to choose the simplest explanation as the priority. So I use that principle because I am being a scientist. So I look at anything magical, I see whether is there a possibility to explain it as a poetic imagination. If it is not explainable as a poetic imagination, then only other theories have a place. So then I heard, so this is, even if poet imagines this much, so much of detail is there, so naturally there should be some either the poet or he heard from somebody else who have seen extraterrestrial vehicle. So that kind of scenario, in Ramayana it's not there. Most of things can be explained as a poetic imagination. In the Mahabharata, there is a kind of situation where there is a Arjuna. There is a Arjuna Baigamana. There is a passage in the Mahabharata Vanaparva where Arjuna is going for getting Pashupada Astra from Shiva. And there is a narrative where the Matali, the charioteer of Indra, comes down and picking up Arjuna. And that description about that particular vehicle which coming for lifting Arjuna from a mountain peak, Indrakila mountain, the mountain peak, it has got all the telltale signature of a extraterrestrial vehicle.
Sure.
So that I consider as one of the important data leak, you can say data leakage or data which is got recorded into one of the itihasas, that is Mahabharata. Contrary to everything in Ramayana, it is Mahabharata where it is very clearly recorded. So here also I consider it as I don't straight away I don't connect it with Arjuna or with Indra. So the things, because the Mahabharata and Ramayana, they evolved from the period of lifetime of the Rama and the Pandavas, they evolved even for thousand years. After the lifetime of Pandavas and after the lifetime of Ramayana, both the itihasas evolved for a long period of time.
Sure.
So this particular extraterrestrial encounter might have taken place anywhere in this thousands years period of evolution period of Mahabharata and Ramayana, and got recorded. Then the poet can actually, after getting the information about this spacecraft, very well detailed and very well, looks like a really an extraterrestrial experience, that get attached to some favorite heroes like Arjuna or Matali or Indra. So that is how I explain it, because direct evidence I don't see from the directly to say that Indra is alien or Arjuna is alien or Rama is, I don't see that coming from the data.
Sure, sure.
So, but of course the signatures are getting recorded into the Mahabharata, especially in the long period of its evolution, because it evolved from like as late as 300 BC, 300 BC or 1st century BC, that much period it evolved. So somewhere in the 1st millennium BC or 2nd millennium BC, there could be an extraterrestrial encounter event which got recorded in a different way into the Mahabharata. That is high possibility, because it is really not possible for a poet to imagine these machineries, etc., which is mentioned in that, and coming in my 3rd book, Geography of Ramayana.
Great, brilliant. But if Rama was a human, or perhaps was born as a human, right? Why did he, or how could he have so many superpowers? When I say superpowers, or rather the courage to say kill someone like Ravana who had 10 heads, as we all read in Ramayana. So how was that possible?
Yeah. So see, for example, current understanding about Ramayana or Mahabharata, 80-90% it is driven by this television serials, etc. So maybe out of 120 or 130 crore people who are enthusiastic about Ramayana or Mahabharata, they read, they see the television serial. 10% may be reading some translation of Bibek Dabroy, the full abridged version of Bibek Dabroy. Maybe 10% may be reading. Even only 1% reading the actual Sanskrit slokas of the Ramayana and Mahabharata. And once you read that, you don't come to that conclusion, because in the Valmiki Ramayana, Rama is mentioned typically as a normal human being by Valmiki with
Correct.
very less kind of exaggerations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Only few chapters, few sargas only talk about Divyastras. One in with the Vishwamitra, one in when interaction with Vishwamitra, and very rarely 2-3 sargas in the Yuddha Kanda. So excluding that, everything is normal astras, Naracha, that is iron arrow, Naracha, and considered as all the normal astras actually. So I have to explain it as a poetic imagination at that level, because we don't get too much of information about it being a nuclear weapon or anything like that. But things are different in, again, things are different in the Mahabharata, where there are statements which actually the poet cannot just imagine unless they have some kind of experience. Not the actual poet, maybe subsequent contributed to the Mahabharata. They say there is some message, some kind of description that this particular astra, if it falls into a country, that entire country and all the neighboring country will be destroyed.
Destroyed,
And there will not be a growth of grass, or even the children will be stillborn, etc. Which is a real thing. I mean, because poet cannot imagine that level unless there is some experience of it. So I see, again I have to compare the second Itihasa Mahabharata have so much of signatures which points towards two things: either extraterrestrial vehicular presence, like flying vehicular kind of experience, and extraterrestrial advanced weaponry kind of an experience. And this is beyond poetic imagination. So I have already discounted poetic imagination. Still, there is something which we cannot explain as a poetic imagination.
So you spoke about the Astras in Ramayana or Mahabharata. How can the Astras be so powerful? Is that a pure willpower of the person who was actually trying to kill someone or destroy someone, or were they really powerful? Or we had such a sophisticated technology in those days itself to manufacture something like a nuclear weapon?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question, and there are a lot of theories about how in the past there can be kind of advanced technology, etc. So being a realist, I don't believe in that there was a past no, in the past period there were advanced technologies which got destroyed, and then because there is no archaeological evidence for that. But there is a possibility, the time leakage concept I mentioned, because of which the people from future can travel into the past moment. Because see, for example, the event happened, that the events of Rama's events or Pandava's events are all discussed all over the big country like India with this many number of people for a long period of time, and we never forget it. Like it happened. See, of course, my dates for Ramayana and Mahabharata are like median chronology dates. But irrespective of the date of the Ramayana and Mahabharata, the people are not forgetting, and it is continuously we are thinking about it. That is an important point.
Sure.
That means it will continue in future also.
Absolutely.
It may even continue the point when time travel will be invented. That time also people will talk about Ramayana and Mahabharata, and what if some people travel backwards and wanted to see the actual Kurukshetra war?
Multiverse.
Or the events.
Or even so, okay.
So there could be that kind of a situation. But we can't see whether then that means automatically there will be evidence in the Mahabharata or Ramayana itself that somebody watched Mahabharata or Ramayana. And to my surprise, right, there is again it can be a poetic imagination, but whenever this Mahabharata war happens, there are a couple of slokas which says that there were so many observers coming and watching it.
Okay.
So, and they say it's Devas, Gandharvas, and other people coming and watching.
Yeah.
Maybe among them there could be some people from the future who have come and seen it. So we don't know, right? Because at least it is mentioned that observers were watching it. Sure. And that is like a kind of a one leg into the possibility that there may be somebody traveling from future and seeing it. But not us, because we have not invented time machine yet. In future, if somebody has invented time machine, they will also be inspired by Kurukshetra war or by Rama Ravana war, or they can. So then this happens, like that other concept I mentioned, right? Slowly some technology leakage will happen.
Yeah.
Into the ancient period, and now some of the technology. See, for example, the closest to whatever the Pandavas that the Divyastras of Pandavas or Brahmastra, which very rarely mentioned in Ramayana, but lot of time mentioned in the Mahabharata, can be diluted nuclear weapons or nuclear fusion weapons, diluted. Because currently the keyword is dilution, because actual nuclear weapon nobody wants it, because it will destroy the entire country, or even nobody wants to destroy an enemy country. Now once you does that, then you become the most hated person in the world.
In the world, yeah.
So if you destroy Pakistan, maybe we may be tempted to destroy Pakistan with a nuclear weapon, but next day onwards India will be seen a different light. So nobody wants any nuclear weapon now. Everybody researching on diluted nuclear weapons, which are like very less nuclear material, that too fusion material with no radiation. I mean, avoiding radiation, because radiation is bad for everybody. And even Indian research is going on, so many other countries also researching. So this can be released on a projectile, like even like it can be released on a bow, on an arrow. So now anyway we don't have bows and arrows anymore, so people are releasing it in a missile. So it will only destroy maybe 100 acres of some very small, within less than a kilometer area of radius. That kind of weapons are very much high demand now. So the Divyastras looks like that to me. Like, so most of the Divyastras probably they can make some destruction within that battlefield, and there is something very rarest of rare, which they put so much of caution, like Brahmastra, that this is the original nuclear weapon, don't use it. Now that kind of thing can be there. I mean, and it may only come from future, not from, because that technology growth, if it is there in the past, like there is a technology build up leading to that should come into the archaeology. Not there, it's only in the hype in the internet, it's not there in the archaeology.
So then, very interesting point here. So 7,000 years ago, you're saying that there could have been someone who would have traveled back to the past, to Ramayana days, right, and then would have perhaps given them a nuclear weapon, or rather an idea of a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, diluted fusion weapon.
Where would this intelligent species would have been living at that point in time, or in a different universe, because we did not exist at that time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I am talking about maybe within 1,000 years into the future. So,
Okay.
And see, maybe it may be like I have this mentioned, like within 300 years we will be in the solar system, that L3 level.
Sure. Okay.
And in the L3 level, for example, we are there in different planets, moons of different planets like Jupiter and Saturn, and we spread out all over the solar system. So in 2023, or maybe in 2024, 25th century, we discovered a time machine. So we are in the solar system, the kind of L3 civilization spread across the solar system. And we are, somebody with the time machine is going into the Kurukshetra war period, and then giving these weapons. It's they will be reported as Devatas given the weapons. Like that. The Indra and Agni and Yama and Varuna gave the weapons to Arjuna. That is the kind of way it will be recorded, right? So because they don't know all this history of we progressing into a solar system civilization, nothing they don't. They are not aware about it. So anybody coming from future, that civilization in which they enter will be mapped into whatever ideas they have in that particular period. Yeah.
So one final question on Ramayana, right? So did Ram become God, or rather have we been worshipping him because the way he conducted himself, or just because he killed Ravana? What could have been the reason?
Correct. That's absolutely important question, because we are talking so much about aliens. So I absolutely reject the ideas that Rama is an extraterrestrial or an alien because of which we are worshipping Rama. It's completely not true, because our civilization is very much focused on the character compared to technology. Because we always say the Asuras, the Maya Danava are highly, I mean, their Maya is basically technology. The Maya has the capability, at least poetic or real, Maya has the capability to revive a person from the like dead body. Maya will put into a pool, recovery pool, and then that dead Asuras will return back to life.
Sure.
But Maya is not considered as worthy of worship like Rama. So our focus is primarily into character.
Absolutely.
So why Rama is worshipped is not because of his divine powers. even if he is exhibited, because Valmiki made him a real human being with no divine powers. But assume he is even having divine power, that is not the reason we are worshipping Rama. Primarily because of his character, which is like he was the kingdom, like the entire kingdom was his own. Actually, he was about to be coronated as the prince of Ayodhya, means Yuvaraja. That means subsequently he will become Raja. But on the same day, he was asked to like forget about whatever, you have to go to forest. And in order to accept that sudden shocking thing without any kind of perturbation on the mind, that is a divine quality. So that divinity, that is like somebody who is in a higher consciousness. I mentioned about Brahman, Brahmi state. Only those people can do that. So that divinity is what making Rama worthy of worshipping in temples. So that is my take on it. And I say, because in our tradition, Sanatana Dharma, there is no difference between like God and human as a separate things. God cannot become human or human cannot become God. We don't think like that. Our thing is like gradually, it's a continuum. So anybody, any human being with elevated consciousness automatically become divine, and he become even higher than Indra and others. So that is our principle. So that way Rama is worthy of worship because of his higher consciousness. And compared to Rama and Krishna, see, what Rama done is basically what Krishna has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, like Nishkama Karma, or the detached with the things. So Krishna says not to be attached in the Bhagavad Gita. Same thing, Rama is not attached to the kingdom or throne or anything. So he lived. So Rama's Gita is basically his life, whereas Krishna actually verbally told that Gita to Arjuna.
Absolutely. Okay. So, no, I think I would love to conclude at this stage. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
I just have a question on Enceladus. So, they say that Enceladus is spewing vapor into the space, and it looks like a plume on its output, right? So, where is it getting its energy from? What is the core of Enceladus made of?
Right. So this Jovian moons, right? So they have a property called this tidal friction. So because the Jupiter is a highly, gravitational force of Jupiter is very high, and most of these moons are very close to the Jupiter. Even if it is far away, it doesn't matter, because it's a very strong gravity. So when they rotate around Jupiter, there is a tidal force created. So even though they are in a frigid environment, like even beyond Mars, so supposed to be very cold, because of the tidal energy, that is a tidal energy, like it can melt some frozen, typically Enceladus have a frozen water in its layer, one of its layers. So frozen water get melted and it become water vapor, and then comes like it's a volcano basically. So water volcano basically. So even Io and Enceladus both exhibit that property. Even Europe also have this. Almost all, that's what I was mentioning about this. Water is become very common now, getting very common everywhere. So water in the form of ice is almost there, guaranteed to be there in most of the moons of Jupiter, and because of tidal forces, that energy is created. So it's not the solar energy, it's not Jupiter energy, but it is because of the tidal, just like moon have tide, no, that similar tidal forces. Water get melted because its heat is generated coming out like that.
So, I have a follow on question on that. So, you said that water has become common across our solar system, and oxygen is what we need here on Earth to breathe, sustain life. Will oxygen be oxygen in another planet, or will it be in a different form? As in, let's say oxygen is needed here on Earth and it's good for us to sustain life. Will oxygen be the same when it's there on any other planet?
Yes. So the oxygens in the relationship with life can flip flop, because in the planet Earth also, in the very beginning, during the precam, that the protozoa and all this primitive life forms from bacteria, cyanobacteria, etc. That time oxygen was a toxic gas. If these life form come in contact with oxygen, they will die. So oxygen has got a flip flop relationship. So only after the photosynthesis, the plants discovered photosynthesis, oxygen becomes a life giver. Right. So for example, in another planet, there will be life forms sustaining on water but not depending upon oxygen, and maybe even consider oxygen as poisonous. That is a possibility.
True. one last question before we close out. So, Voyager 1 and 2 have gone out of our solar system long ago, and then they're in the interstellar space right now. But they continue to send data, right? So, where are these drawing their energy from?
Yes. So there is Voyager 1 and 2, they have a kind of same thing, subdued nuclear energy generators. So that is the main source of energy, and slightly the solar energy is very feeble, but slightly it can capture the solar energy. So main source of energy is this nuclear fission energy, which can actually create some good temperature also inside that, preventing it from freezing, the circuitry from freezing. And that is like in Chandrayaan 3 we lack that technology and it froze, almost frozen, but we checking again and again, but it may be come out that it is frozen like that.
Right. Thank you so much, Jijith.
Yeah.